Okay, thank you all for joining us today. We're just about to get started here. So if you can remember to please mute your microphone, that would be great. Feel free to use video when you're asking questions if you have some questions to ask. And yeah, and we'll get started in just a couple minutes. Okay, so welcome to today's webinar. If you haven't been to a webinar before, there's just a few house rules that we have. One, mute your microphone when you're not speaking, please, and feel free to use video and ask questions in the chat box. So there is a little chat in Zoom that you can find. And yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions as we go through. And obviously be respectful of others, but you all are every time. So I just don't feel the need to really say that. So thank you. Let's see. My little arrows aren't working, so just a second. I'll have to show my little navigator. My name is Ann Griesel, and I'm the project manager for the biology IT team. And there are some websites that might help you as you're learning luggage and you're walking through your own. You can visit our website at biology-it.isd.edu. The luggage showcase you can visit by essentially going to luggagedocs.info and then I'm sorry, that's wrong. Just by going to the Biology IT website, and you can click on there's a little box in the center about luggage, and you can select the luggage showcase from the luggage website. And when you go to luggagedocs.info, you will be able to find the guides and online tutorials by clicking on the guide button in the main menu. That's usually the fastest way to find it, or just this big red button on the front homepage will get you there. If you would like to know more about digital accessibility, the Digital Access website is still up and it has some great resources and information on it, so please feel free to visit that website. Today, we're going to talk about some easy steps to keep your website accessibly compliant. And most of you are familiar with these steps, but I thought there might be a couple that maybe you forgot or might jog the memory on some things that you can pay attention to. I've been doing some trainings lately, and I just felt like it was probably a good idea to maybe write down some of the things that we talk about in training so that they're somewhere that you could reference those items. So I will walk through a few slides today. That's where we're going to actually land. And from there, you'll be able to hopefully learn some new things and ask questions if you need to. Then there is a bonus tip today. So after we get through that, I'd like to show you some information on our CK editor. So, all right. So we're going to start with headings and subheadings. And most of you are aware that it's a good idea to use the heading 2 or heading 3 instead of bolding your subheadings. And I think a lot of you are very familiar with how to do that. And I've seen most of you use those drop downs and your familiarity with them. It's also important to know why there's not a heading 1. So heading 1 is not available in the list because there can only be one heading 1 per page according to the accessibility guidelines. So the title of your page that you add in a different field at the top is actually your heading 1. You can find this in the editor toolbar. It looks like the normal here. That's what it looks like. And then when you click on it, it looks like the screenshot on the right where you can select options. There's a few best practices to follow with headings and subheadings. It's important that you use unique subheadings and headings. So your Google search and folks looking for information on your site can find it more easily. If you use words like summary and overview and general information and about us, those are all very general terms and very hard for Google to look at and say that's unique. You know, if somebody puts a search information in search about your program and they want to know about it, it's good to have, you know, your program name in there. So for example, you'd say about the XYZ program, you know, instead of just about at the top of the page itself. It is okay to have the word about in the main menu. I think that's fine. It's condensed, it's easier to use on mobile, and it's not gonna hurt anything there. But on the actual page itself, your title, it's better to be unique. And the more, you'll want to use more subheadings than you think on the website than you would if you were doing a printed document, for example. The attention span for reading a website is a lot less. Folks want to be able to skim the information quickly, and if they can't find it quickly, they're probably going to leave your website. So it is best to, in those places where you have maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs usually in a section, maybe drop that down and put subheadings after every, you know, before every paragraph to help people find that information a lot faster and keep them motivated to continue reading. So a lot of people are motivated if they're like, oh, that section's just a paragraph. I read through that. I can go to the next one, you know, versus, oh, there's 3 paragraphs here. I don't think I want to read that. It's kind of a crazy phenomenon, but that's how folks kind of view web when they're looking for information. Next is alternate text, and most of you are very familiar with alternate text, but I want to remind you that it's important to use this box. So I know that I've said we're trying to make this required, and we are, but there are some things that need to be done before that actually happens. So I just want to remind you that you're able to, that you add alternate text to your images. It's super important. It's very, very helpful for folks that are using assistive technologies to be able to experience your website in a similar fashion as someone with without using one of those devices. So you really want to make sure that when you look at your image that you are very succinct and short in your description, but effective. So make sure it's a high quality description and something that gives someone with low vision the similar experience as someone that has vision. Also, accessibility software is aware that there's an image on your page. So you don't need to write anything about that in the alternate text box. So for example, you don't need to say image of or photo of. You can just go ahead and start describing that image. Let's talk about links for a second. Links, excuse me, you can add links to your content by going to this little link icon. Some people refer to it as the infinity symbol. I've heard that recently in like 2 or 3 trainings, which I think is great. I'm sorry, that symbol is a little hard to see. I'm not sure why. It's in most content management systems like this. So it is what it is at this point, but yeah, it looks like a little infinity symbol is supposed to be a little link, like a physical little link, like a chain. But here you can add your URL in the field, and it's best to highlight your content that you want to make a link first, and then create the link. That's the first bullet on this page. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to cough, but do not paste the full URL into your body copy. So I I have not seen much of this at all with our content editors on any of the sites that I've been on, so good job. I'm really happy that that's not happening. It is just very difficult for someone with, again, with this assistive technology to understand the context of your link if it's the physical, like, or the straight URL, for example. So you don't want to put the https:// xyz.com, because that doesn't give any context to what the information is that they're going to visit. I think that's about all I need to really say there, but I think you all do a very good job with that. As for files, this is something to kind of watch out for. I can't say that I've seen a lot of this either. I think most of you pay pretty close attention to what your files are named, and so that they again provide context to the actual file that's going to be downloaded. But a couple questions to ask yourself are, is it user-friendly? And will the visitors to your website understand the context of the file? Because if they're not sure what that file is, chances are it's going to confuse them, and they probably won't want to stick around and kind of download some weird thing on their machine. So a lot of us, like me, I usually put the date. So I'll put, 2018-09- whatever date. And just having those numbers and things in the file name can be cumbersome to people that are visiting your site. And remember that you can right-click on your file, so that, like on this, once you've uploaded your file, you can right-click on where it says in this example, test_document_file.pdf. You can right-click on that and say copy URL or copy link, I think is what it is. And when you do that, you can add a link just like you would any other kind of link. And the nice part about it is that you could add it to a little sentence or piece of information in your content. So if you're referring to your latest brochure on XYZ, you could actually make latest brochure on XYZ the link to the PDF of the file. And that's okay to do that, because you're indicating and giving context to the end user that it's a brochure. So chances are they're going to know that it's a file, and they're probably going to assume it's a PDF file. So when you're adding files to the website, it's important to think about the type of file that you're providing as well. I've seen a lot of Word documents go up online, and I really think that in most cases, you don't need a Word document. PDF files are editable. People can use those and edit those and save them. You can provide information as a PDF in most cases. However, just know that when you provide a Word document, that that makes it a lot easier for people to change and edit and reuse and that kind of thing. So I just wanted to bring awareness to that. If you want to create a list, for example, you want to create a list of downloads, like you've got some information that you want to provide to your site visitors, then in that case, just make sure that you put a .pdf or .doc after the file name so that people know the different kinds of files that are there. If you don't do this, people will assume that those are links to web pages. And when something starts to download on their website or on their machine, their computer, they'll be a little taken back by that, and it'll be a behavior that they're not expecting. And so that makes your website less inclusive, less clear, and less accessible for those that aren't even visually seeing that maybe something is downloading. So it's important to provide that to your end users. We just have tables left so for today. So tables, our front-end developer, Sarah and Angela, I think has also assisted with this, have taken some time to create the ability for our tables to be visible on mobile devices. And that just makes your tables more accessible as well, because when you identify the headers of your table, then the assistive technology is going to be able to pick up on that. And so it will help people using that technology to be able to understand your table and appreciate the information that's there. So you can choose in this, so you'll see the little, I should have put the little table icon, but there's a little table icon that you can select in the editor, and then you'll see this table properties box come up, and where it says headers is what we're talking about here. So in that drop down, you'll be able to choose if the first row of your table, first column of your table, or both the row and column are headers, so that they can visually appear better for folks on mobile devices as well. And that also assists with, again, with this assistive technology. This is just an example. We have a larger table on the Research IT website, and you can see that on a normal desktop computer, the table will look like this, where it's kind of every row is a new piece of hardware that they're explaining. And at the top, we also have headings at the top. So on mobile, you can see where the hardware name and the headings on the top are repeated, so that you get that information right there. And you don't have to scroll to the right, for example, to see the rest of the information on the table. So you'll see that those headings on the top will repeat. So this is a row 1 is the heading, and that's what causes this to happen. So you'll see that hardware name is repeated down here for BioCrunch, and then the information is as well as intended use, etc. So it just makes it a lot more user-friendly. At this point, before we get into the little bonus tip, are there any questions about what we've discussed today? And I'm happy to provide these slides. So I will provide these slides up on the Luggage Docs website for this event. So you'll be able to see the slides as well. Okay, it's quiet out there today. All right, so let's jump into just the little tip that I had for today. Actually, just a second. Let me get this where I want it here. Just a second. Maybe. Okay. We're going to start at the beginning. So there's a new guide page that's been updated, and I just wanted to bring your attention to that. So when you go to the Luggage Tutorials guide, there is a CK editor page. It's called the CK editor. And you'll see that there's a pasting content button. Let's see, there it is, the paste button. So the paste button has changed, and I know that it might be a little confusing, so I wanted to just bring folks' attention to that. In the past, if you've worked with me for a while, you've heard me say many, 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 many times to use the little clipboards. So there's like little clipboards in the upper left of the editor, and one is for pasting as plain text and one is for pasting as a Word document. Great. It is recently, browsers have updated due to security, and they will not allow folks to paste in content essentially from your clipboard to something like that little clipboard. So basically, to try to keep it simple, like from my understanding, folks were not on our sites, but like just in general, in the world, the internet, people had figured out how to kind of grab text from folks' clipboards. So every time on your computer, when you like copy and paste something, um, it's on a clipboard on your machine. That's kind of what it's referred to as, like the holding place before you paste it. And so there were some people kind of getting into that on with browsers, and so browsers have updated to be more secure. And because of that, for some reason, the CK editor folks haven't necessarily updated or changed that little clipboard icon. So we thought about removing it. However, it gives you some great instructions to follow on how to do the very same thing just by using key commands. And the key commands are just a lot simpler, and actually they're a lot faster. Also, our team has spent a lot of time making sure that the information that's pasted into your editor is secure in the fact that certain tags are removed. It's kept pretty clean. We're not just letting things go. So there's a lot of information that's being taken care of for you in the back end that you don't even see that's happening. So you don't have anything to worry about. But I didn't remove the clipboards just because of the instructions that are there. So you can see these nice little instructions. They're a lot more visible once you're editing. You can please be sure to read them, because I misinterpreted what was happening for a while. So just make sure that you can read them. Annalise, one of our students, went through and wrote a little tutorial up for you, basically explaining how to copy content. So Command or Control, based on whether you're on a Mac or PC. If you're in a Word document, most of you do that already. But you can either choose to hit Command or Control Shift V to paste content without formatting. So that means that it will paste the content as plain text, and it will not include your bold, italics, underlines, that kind of thing. It's just going to paste plain text. If you select the Command or Control V, then the basic formatting will be kept. So your bold and italic and underline of your Word document will be kept. So those are just things to remember and point out if you have additional questions. It's really not that big a deal, honestly. But I just thought, since I had been promoting those little clipboards for so long, I wanted you to know why you're seeing a blue box. So if you have questions about that, please let me know, and I'd be happy to explain it to you a little bit more, but it's actually a good thing in the end. So, all right. That is all I have for today. So if there aren't any questions, that's really all I have. You can visit our Luggage Doc website. If you go to events/archive, you'll be able to see a list of all the webinars that we've done, and you can view those recordings from there as well. But I'll give you a second. Sometimes people say that they didn't have a chance to write their question. So I want to make sure that people get a chance to write their question if they have one in the chat. Okay. As always, feel free to email websupport@iastate.edu, and we're happy to help you with any web support questions that you have. All right. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for joining.